This meeting is being recorded.
So welcome everybody to the Lord MEHER book reading of the online edition. We are on page number 1468, and so all those who are on Zoom will be taking turns to read, and those who are listening to the recording, I hope you have a great reading. Thank you. So I'll start, Marvin. Yeah. The women gave Baba a hearty reception, and a skit was performed to celebrate the occasion. Sona Masi was the manager of the women's ashram, but she kept committing errors in her accounts. There's some noise coming from somebody's audio, so I request everybody to be muted. Yeah, thank you. Ralph, I think your audio is on. If you could just mute yourself. Thank you. Yeah. Sona Masi was the manager of the women's ashram, but she kept committing errors in her accounts. She had so much trouble keeping track of the money while shopping in the bazaar that it afforded amusing incidents for the other women, which they related with humor to Baba. Okay. Memo and Money had also come to Nasik from Pune. They discussed Babu's death and what should be done to make certain that Memo was well cared for. Baba wanted to keep Money with him in the ashram, but Memo thought otherwise. She wanted a family member to be with her in Pune. Consequently, Baba had directed his brother Behram to marry Perrin. Although Behram was hesitant, he obeyed Baba and agreed to being married and staying with Memo. This freed Money to join Baba's women mandali in the ashram. Once settled in Nasik, Baba would play cricket, gilli danda, and other games with Rustam's children, Meru, Nagu, Melu, and Falu, and Tatal, Naval Talati's children, Jiru and Khurshid. While playing a game, Baba struck a ball very hard. It hit Meru and the wound bled. Her mother, Freni, understood the incident as Baba's prasad. But little Meru kept crying. Baba lovingly wiped the blood from her face and sent her to the hospital. In fact, it was Baba's prasad because out of Rustam and Freni's 6 children, only Meru was chosen to become a permanent member of the Master's Mandali after completion of her education. Baba once wanted to give a fountain pen and pencil to Meru and her brother Falu, but there were other brothers and another sister present. So a lottery was held. Lots were drawn and Meru won the pen. Falu also wanted something, so a second lottery was held and he won the pencil. In this manner, Baba would enjoy the company of children and give them his invaluable contact. Baba would often play a game with Rustam's children in which he would grab and twist his fingers into a fist, asking them to point out the middle finger. Only the tips of his fingers were visible. So it was difficult to guess. The children would usually err in making the correct choice. Thus, Baba would fool them, and the children would laugh and at his clever trickery. Meanwhile, on 6 September 1932, Baba had sent Neelu to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, 41, leader and spokesman of the untouchables whom Mahatma Gandhi had urged Baba to meet. Neelu was in medical school in Bombay and would occasionally visit Baba in Nasik. When Neelu informed Ambedkar about Meher Baba, Ambedkar agreed to see Baba immediately. So Baba returned to Bombay to meet with him. The following conversation took place at 7 o'clock on the evening of 13th September. I am very pleased to see you, Baba began. I have wanted to meet you for a very long time. I was also eager to see you, but I had not been able to manage it, replied Ambedkar. Baba then spelled out to him, let me clearly explain to you in detail why I wanted to see you and what I want you to do. First of all, let it be quite clear that I have nothing to do with politics. My concern in this matter is purely from the spiritual point of view and out of my regard and feeling for the depressed classes. Apart from any politics, I have already done much for them during my time in Mehrabad, where I made the high class Brahmins live and eat in my ashram with untouchables. Not only that, I made my Brahmin disciples bathe the untouchable boys. I bathed them myself. I have the cause of the depressed classes at heart, and I quite understand and appreciate your efforts on their behalf. Now, the situation is such that the settlement of self rule for India rests on the delicate question of joint or separate electorates, electorates for the depressed classes. Now is the time and occasion for those who fight for the cause of these untouchables to strike while the iron is hot, getting as much as possible for them. So now, when the time of this golden opportunity for the poor untouchables has come, I would advise you, for reasons I am about to explain, to accept the with a
Electorate.
electorate with a reservation of seats and other rights and details to be settled with Gandhi and other leaders. I had a long meeting with Gandhi the day before his arrest. He explained things and asked me to tell you and the other leaders of the depressed classes to accept a joint electorate. He promised me if you and the other leaders accept that, he would meet with you and be more sympathetic to the rights of the untouchables, using his influence on political leaders to ensure justice in the new arrangement. Marvin, would you like to read? Thank you.
Okay. And there are reasons why I also want you to accept a joint electorate and join with Gandhi in this. By having the aid of the government for a separate electorate of the depressed classes now, you can run the risk of forever clashing with Hindu society and establishing yourself as a separate class, branded untouchables forever, which is the least desirable thing. The stigma of untouchability is to be uprooted once and for all, and all classes are to be united. This is the time and occasion, the golden opportunity to tell your non Hindu brethren to include the oppressed with all their legitimate rights, or lose them and make them enemies forever, which no well wishers of Hindu independence would want. Therefore, join hands with Gandhi and go along with him for a joint electorate. He has already promised to do his utmost for their representation and rights in the new government. Gandhi is sincere and will keep his word, and his influence will carry weight with other classes. I will also internally help you fight your fight for the depressed classes, whose cause is always in my heart. Dr. Ambedkar responded, I understand what you mean and would like to do as you say, but I must explain that I alone cannot do it. I have to consult my colleagues in the party, provincial and all India, before acting. But you can exercise your influence on them, and I will help internally, said Baba. That I will, replied Ambedkar, but I cannot say if they will accept it or not. You need not worry, Baba assured him. It is enough that you remember what I have told you. Try to persuade those in your party and bring them around through your influence. I will see to the rest. Will you do so? Yes, I will, Dr. Ambedkar stated. Baba asked him to promise, and he did so verbally. I am so glad, Baba concluded. You will be doing the greatest service for your people. So remember, I am very, very pleased to have seen you. So am I, said Ambedkar. Dr. Ambedkar then left. After a discussion with his colleagues, all agreed to accept a joint electorate. But as events unfolded, it took a long time to happen. After meeting with Ambedkar in Bombay, Baba returned to Nasik. Within a few days, he sent Rustam to try to see Mahatma Gandhi in Yerabda prison, Pune, where he was incarcerated. Rustam was not successful because individual interviews were not permitted at the time. Soon after, the British government removed restrictions on interviews, and Baba sent Chanji and Ramju from Nasik to see Gandhi on the morning of 21 September 1932. They found Gandhi sitting on a bed in an open courtyard of the prison, spinning on a charka spinning wheel to spin cotton into yarn. Gandhi warmly welcomed them and had them sit near. They had the following conversation. Gandhi began, So, Meher Baba has come back. I came to know about it only this morning through the Bombay Chronicle. I do not read the newspapers very carefully, but Sardar Patel reads them from corner to corner, and he told me about it. When did Baba return? Ramji replied, Baba returned to India on the 5th of September. Gandhi asked, why was there no news for so long in the papers about him, that even his return was not published? When Baba left for Europe, I read about it in the Indian press. Chanji responded, the reason is that Baba's return was kept private. Ramju interjected, even the news that had been in the Chronicle has not been approved by Baba. It was Rustam who had it published when he failed to get an interview with you the other day. Gandhi said, I often inquire of those near me as to why there is no news from Meher Baba. There is some talk here almost every day about him, and his name creeps into our conversations. Has he begun speaking yet? Ramju replied, he was to break his silence in America, but he did not. Chanji explained, there are extreme arrangements made for broadcasting his first utterance on radio, but Baba postponed them and did not break his silence. Ramju said, this is the 8th year of his silence. He completed his 7th year in July. Gandhi said, yes, I read about the arrangements for his breaking of his silence, but really now he is carrying it too far. Ramji then said, Baba has also been to China and Japan. Gandhi replied in surprise, oh, has he been all over America, China, and Japan too? How many days did he stay in America? Chanji explained that he accompanied Baba, saying he stayed there for about 15 days. He was in Japan for only 1 day, and he stopped in China for a week. Instead of then returning to America as planned, he proceeded to Europe, stopping in Bombay for a very short time. Ramju said to Gandhi, you remember when Baba saw you last January, just before your arrest, that he promised you he would meet the leaders of the untouchables and use his influence to make them accept joint electorates? Accordingly, he saw some of the local leaders before he left and wired Dr. Ambedkar, who could not come. Baba then left for Europe and America. On his return, Baba came to know of your arrest and sent for Ambedkar and had a talk with him for half an hour. Baba impressed upon him the fact that although he himself never took part in any politics, he wanted to convince the depressed classes that it was for their own benefit to accept joint electorates with reservation of seats and other rights. Otherwise, they would form themselves of their own accord into an untouchable group for all time, and that sooner or later he wanted to see the Brahmins and so-called untouchables on an equal footing, not only in politics, but in the matter of religion and spirituality also. Ambedkar replied that he would keep Baba's advice in mind, but that first he had to consult with his committee members and would let Baba know the results later. Baba says that this settlement of the electorate problem, for which you have started fasting, will soon be settled, but he wishes you to fast for 40 days. In reference to your desire to spend a night with Baba and requesting the key, Gandhi interrupted. Key? Chanji explained. This is in reference to your meeting with Baba in London when you asked him to give you the key. Ramju concluded, after the fast, you should spend the 40th night with Baba, and he will make you God realized. Gandhi explained, I have started this fast under the condition that I will terminate if a settlement is arrived at. In that case, I would be going against my word if I were to continue the fast, because I did not declare beforehand that I would remain fasting for 40 days in any case. And people are very uneasy about it. Ramju replied, that is perhaps why we have been asked to tell you to keep your on fasting if possible. Gandhi said, if possible, could be interpreted in two ways. First, if the body has the stamina. Ramju interrupted. We have been instructed to assure you that in the case of your prolonging the fast under Baba's advice, there would be no question of any physical harm. One of Baba's mandali, Pleader, has been fasting on liquids for the past 3 years. Another disciple began a fast 12 days ago, and he has been directed by Baba to remain only on water for 40 days. This instruction was given to him about a week before your prolonged fast was announced, but now it seems very significant. Gandhi said, Baba's disciple must be feeling very pleased about the fast. Of course, I know that if one were to start fasting with the intention of keeping it, say for 90 days, and in the meantime dropped his body, the fast would be considered as having been completed. Not only that, but in this case, one could be said to be fasting externally when the last breath came. In the next birth or in the next world, one is bound to remain free from the desire to eat for all time. Another meaning if possible is that there should be an inborn impulse, or one should feel that whatever one had done so far was all useless. Or say God himself whispers in one's ear to fast as desired by Baba, or to do anything toward the spiritual end, then it could be done. Even if I break this fast when a settlement is reached and confirmed both here and in London, which I doubt, I will give notice to all concerned that I will resume the fast if the settlement is not carried out to the letter as well as the spirit. And I will do so if I am played false. I am not only keen on the issue of electorates, but I want to do the work of the depressed classes once and for all. Untouchability must disappear. I will and may keep more fasts if I am destined to do so. Ramju then said, since Baba met with you on the Rajputana and in London, there's been a considerable amount of misrepresentation in the press. This was possibly due to the reporters, while interviewing Baba, repeatedly questioning him about his association with you. Some mention of you had to be made to the reporters, but what Baba stated has been found to have been misconstrued. Chanji interjected. I remember an interview to the press before leaving India in which Baba had particularly asked them not to make any reference to you. Yet, by way of private information, not for publication, he gave the impression you had promised to accompany him to America after you finished with your political work. Ramju added, and this was twisted into screaming headlines such as Gandhi's spiritual guru and the like, as can be seen in the scrapbook of newspaper clippings about Baba's trip abroad. Looking at the newspaper articles, Gandhi said, I have seen these are mostly from the English papers. Chanji affirmed, yes, the press clippings from the American papers are not included here, but a great stir was caused in that country. Ramju said, so much so that even in Hollywood, where materialism could be said to be at its height, movie stars such as Mary Pickford, Douglas Fairbanks, Tallulah Bankhead, and others were greatly drawn to Baba. This article from Liberty Magazine is very good and impartially written. Yet the writer of it, Frederick Collins, has made a mess of it here in reference to you. I would like you to read it, so I will send you a typed copy. Gandhi said, yes, I will read it, but why bother with a copy? Leave it with me. I will return it to you when I am done with it. Ramju added, regarding the misrepresentation in the press, as soon as it came to Baba's attention, Chanji was instructed to have it corrected. I received a cable from London to inform you about it, and accordingly I wrote you. Gandhi replied, I did not receive your letter. Did you get any reply from me? No, said Ramju, I did not. But then I did not expect a reply. I only wrote to give you the information. But that letter never came to my hand, said Gandhi. This kind of misrepresentation is made two ways. Some do it knowing that it is all false. Nevertheless, they write it. And some do it unknowingly, really believing that they have the true facts. The British are very keen on seeing my downfall, and they want to bring it about. But one cannot be made to fall in this way. If I wish to lower myself, it is to serve my purpose. Likewise, if I want to raise myself up, I also do so to serve my own purpose and fulfill some aim. Okay, why don't we have another reader here? Anybody like to read? Eva?
I can read.
Mahu,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Okay. By this time, it was 6 p.m. Oh, page 1475, 1932. By this time, it was 6 p.m., and Chanji and Ramju felt there was nothing else to discuss. The jailer approached. Smiling, he said he hoped they were finished. Gandhi also smiled, and they got up to leave. Ramju said, we have given you Baba's message, and we will convey yours to him, that there is some talk of him here in prison every day. Yes, do tell him that, Gandhi said, as he shook their hands. Ramju and Chanji returned to Nasik and informed Baba in details of their meeting with Chanji. During September, October, and November of 1932, Baba occasionally went to Meherabad, Pune, Bombay, and once the Panchgani, where he met his close lovers. In Nasik, more and more people began coming for his darshan. In addition, Baba had to pay particular attention to the individual needs of his mandali. He had to solve the problems that occurred during his absence, and he issued further instructions as he intended to return to the West in November. Meanwhile, telegrams and letters were being received and dispatched daily to his British and American followers who were thirsting for his company. Chanji described the brief but hectic visits Baba made to Bombay at this time in a letter to those in England dated 17 September 1932. This is the letter. Twice during these few days has Baba been to Bombay on his work, of course with the strict instructions to us all to inform none there of his visit, except those with whom he had worked. However, the news of his arrival spread like fire everywhere, and before even he arrived, there were hundreds waiting eagerly and on watch for his visit any moment. And how they all greet him, actually rush to be near him, to greet him, to fall at his lotus feet, and to feel his warm touch, to be in his loving, living arms. No pen can describe the scenes of these meetings so longed for by the thousands of sincere, loving souls who waited and watched every move of his just to find an opportunity to rush in his august presence and be blessed. Tears alone can tell their own tales, tears of love that he alone can inspire and the lovers of the divine beloved can appreciate. It is so touching, so wonderful, even to watch these thousands come to him to express their feelings in the silent language of the heart. The outburst is so phenomenal. For his work, he has to move about, even in a big city like Bombay, from one place to another, so many times a day. And every time that he returns home, there's a gathering of people, sometimes waiting for hours, eager to see him. The visits and interviews with one group of people being finished, Baba again goes out, and once again on returning, finds another much larger group of visitors, awaiting to see him. These all come as a surprise for us, for none of us informed none of these of Baba's visit as he desired. So only those who get information of his visit from one or the other who visited him already come to see him, and even these leave him no time for food, let alone rest. Rest for Baba we have hardly seen, for even while he is seen at rest, we know he is busy elsewhere. Here are 4 more letters written by Chanji to different lovers in the West. It's in Nasser, 18 September 1932. Chanji writes, Dear Jinko, and we want to know who Jinko is. Footnote.
Jinko is a nickname for Gene and Malcolm Schloss and the American group of followers from New York.
Oh, okay. We knew. Dear Jinko, Baba has been busy since he arrived here, arranging things on his side before he goes again to the West for his great work there. How busy he is, you can hardly guess. But he goes through it all with his ever-smiling face, irrespective of time, night or day, attending to the huge crowds who come to him seeking shelter and advice. But amidst the tremendous pressure of all of this work, and even surrounded by hundreds daily, he is so often found to be away somewhere, in response to the call of love on the other side, with one or the other, those who are dearest to him and nearest in his heart and ever in his thoughts. Like a mother rushing to her young one who is in distress and crying for her shelter, he has to respond to the soul crying out in love for him, even across the continents. And he does it all so lovingly in order to warm some hearts and to comfort some souls that cry out in suffering separation. Who they are, only he and the ones who feel his warmth know. This happens so often, so often that the physical communication of letters and messages seems to be of little value. However, as you, Jinko, are always in his thoughts, he asks me to write that he is so satisfied and pleased with you, all dears, especially with your silent submission to his will under the most trying circumstances, and in spite of your heart's desire to be always with him and feeling his separation so keenly.
Thank you, Ma.
Writes.
Thank you. Eva, would you like to read next?
Sure. And he is so glad to see that you have proved true to the test, giving him great relief by your total surrenderance to his will and abiding by his instructions in all respects. And how he loves you all for this, how he continually remembers you and repeatedly speaks about you and your love to his Mandali here. Kimco of England and Jeanco of America have stayed in his heart permanently. In a letter to Enid Korf the same day, Chanji wrote, "You are now one of his dearest ones, who are closest in his heart and ever in his thoughts through the love they have for him. And he is so glad you have grown so much with your love and become so near to him, in spite of all the defects of which you are so conscious, and that you have that open and honest heart to confess so plainly, a trait in human character he always loves best. That is why he loves you so, and lovingly asked, as one of his own, to give your share in the great work for the upliftment of humanity he has ever at heart. And he is glad you have so readily responded to his call for contribution. If I venture to explain, dear Enid, let me tell you that love is the only thing that Baba always wants and values. But he also wants some sacrifice made selflessly and out of pure love for the cause of humanity that Baba always has at heart, and which is his only great mission in life. That is why, with all the love that his best and sincerest lovers offer him, he demands that sacrifice from each and every one that makes one entirely selfless and raises him or her to the heights of spiritual attainments and to the kingdom divine that is the goal of humanity. He has to risk grave misunderstandings and even doubts from the best of his lovers for this. For that love, which goes out in a selfless and benevolent spirit for the benefit of others more needy, is much more valuable than years of yoga or meditation in mountains or in seclusion, particularly so when this demand of sacrifice is made by a perfect master. Because the master never demands such gifts from anyone except from those with whom he has deep, deep connections of the past and whom he wishes to lift to special heights through the special grace, which is very rare and descends only on worthy ones. You are one of these, hence so much of love and the demand for love. I hope you now understand. In another letter from Nasik on 2 October 1932, Shanji wrote the women in England, "Dear Gopis, another week full of engagements, adding to the long list of those already pending. Days and nights come and go, how and when we have no time to think of. Letters and cables from the West, from Europe as well as America, pour in almost daily with the same common tone and tune in all. The tune of the heart. Oh, how we love you, Baba, and wish to live with you, to share your burden of service, sacrifice, and sufferings. We are feeling keenly the pangs of separation, yet feeling your presence all the while in the heart of our hearts. We desire to be with you, to enjoy your physical company and contact, to be near you and in your arms. Yet we are content with the idea of having others share and enjoy your company, pleased at the thought of others more worthy having that blissful enjoyment in our stead. But in all these letters and cables, he keeps with him only those received from you, his own Kimco. Now, what to say about Baba's work here? Details would be unnecessary. Suffice it to say, as you are all by now members of his own mandali, that he works for others, thousands clamoring to him for salvation. Besides to look into the other affairs of his own mandali in order to settle everything here before he departs again for his great mission to the West. All this entails a terrible lot of strain, but for his infinite powers, anyone else would be literally crushed under the pressure. But while doing all that, there is hardly a day when he does not mention the name of his Kimco. This dear, darling name daily forms a part of a subject matter for discussion and sweet, loving talk. Rather, this lively and lovely talk about you, sweet ones, and your ever-increasing love is a sort of recreation amidst the daily routine work. With Baba, all of us love to talk on the subject of Kimco and the sweet ones this name refers to. Yes, you are so lucky, really. But then you really deserve every thought that darling Baba has about you. For the love he has for you and you have for him. And we are so glad. May you
Thank
still...
you, Eva.
Oh, you're welcome. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Marilyn, would you like to read? Okay. Are you there, Marilyn? Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Jai Baba. Just a little louder if you can.
All right. Just show me where we left off, please.
Top of the page.
Okay. Portofino. May you be still more and more worthy of the great love he has given you, and grow more and more in your love for the purest of the pure and most beloved idol of your heart, the flower of humanity. And now, before I close, some good news of his advent to the West. From the trend of events, it appears he might leave here by the beginning of November for Italy, and then sweet dreams of January to be realized. So I'll let you dwell in those glorious dreams of love when the darling beloved of your heart stands physically in your presence with you all, while you are trying always to find your blessed moment to be with him and in his arms, thinking always of things that would make him happy and of the surprise you have in store for him. And, oh, let me not break the chain of those blissfully glorious thoughts. So, till we meet again next month, much love from the lover of lovers, and with loving regards from all the boys. About 2 weeks later, Chanji wrote again to the English ladies in London, Nasik, October 15, 1932. Dearest Kimko, the world wants a sweetheart and would love to have one who is real and true. They are very rare and not easily traced. And when such a one is found, millions run after the sweet beloved. All come in touch and contact with him. But few, very, very few, find a place in the beloved's heart and come in close contact with him. And even out of these, there are still fewer still who are closest to his heart and are able to find that real thing which the world thirsts for, love. You, Kimko, were the luckiest to find the sweetest beloved in the world come and knock at your very doors. He was graciously pleased to bestow the best on you, his unbounded love. For you all so splendidly responded, he gave you the softest corner in his very loving heart. You all loved him with all your hearts and loved to live or die for him, with the result that you have ever been in his heart and mind, in spite of all his multifarious activities and movements here. How can one tell you that although he is very busy every second of his time, almost without rest, he has always the sweet name of his Kimko at heart?
This
That is,
must be dictated. It's very eloquent.
excuse me. Shall I keep reading? That is the only name and foreign subject so frequently discussed and enjoyed by him and all of us. How particular he is to see that every week letters be sent to you from here by email. And when he doesn't receive letters from you for 2 to 3 weeks, he feels so sad. For Baba to hear that Shireen, Audrey, and Mumtazilla are becoming colder and less responsive, rather indifferent to him, has added much to his grief. What grief it causes, Baba, you can have no idea. However, Shalimar, Minta, writes every week how terribly she misses Baba and finds his lifeless without him, and finds life lifeless without him. Layla's, Delia, faithfulness, and love flow through her weekly letters. Zulika, Margaret, and Feroz, Mabel, have nothing else but love to offer Baba in words that delight him ever so much. Saroja's Kitty love is ever selfless as it ought to be. They all want and wait to see Baba with them in January, full of love and enthusiasm. These are bright spots and cheerful and comforting words that really cheer and comfort him. After leaving Baba in Venice at the end of August, Margaret, Delia, and Kitty had returned to London. Quentin had been sent by Baba to Siena, Italy, to study at the university until Narina could arrive from America. Narina and Quentin had been directed to go to Germany and various other places in Europe to try to interest people in Baba. Narina arrived in Genoa on 26 September 1932. From there, she and Quentin, together or separately, visited Venice, Florence, Argenta, Verona, Munich, Basel, Zurich, Halle, Berlin, and Budapest. By the end of December, they returned to Venice, where they were to join Baba's group. Baba was to travel to all those places in Europe, but as so often happened with him, plans were to change. Baba's silent message carried the seed of consciousness within it for the countries his disciples visited. Quentin, Narina, and Rustam, who had been sent to Australia and New Zealand, were the outward media of Baba's inner work. Through them, he forged the link for his spiritual work with these different nations. During Narina's and Quentin's travels, the most notable of their contacts were the psychiatrist Dr. Carl Jung in Switzerland at the end of October, theater producer Max Reinhardt, who had directed Narina in The Miracle, and the physicist Albert Einstein outside of Berlin.
Okay, thank you, Marilyn.
Okay, thank you.
Can we have a new reader? Would Marcia like to read? Or Kalpana?
I can read,
All right, go ahead, Marcia.
but I'm reading on my phone, so I have to pinch it out bigger.
Okay.
Portofino. Norina was friendly with Einstein's stepdaughter, Margot. Norina once described her meeting with Einstein. It was though, wait, it jumped up here, hold on. It was though the courtesy
Through.
of Professor, am I in the wrong place? No.
No, it was through.
Oh, okay, sorry. It was through the courtesy of Professor Luders, a famous professor of Sanskrit at the University of Berlin, that I had the unusual chance of visiting Einstein. I say unusual because he hates inquisitive visitors of any kind, unless their purpose for coming is of direct interest and value to him. Professor Luders, who graciously intended to give hospitality to Baba in Berlin, arranged the meeting within 12 hours' notice. The word Baba, I suppose, magically opened the door for the visit, as I personally had no excuse to make myself interesting. The next day at 2 p.m, I stood before the door of the most intelligent man in the world. Through the glass door of his very modernistic bungalow at Kaputh, I could see him sitting before a pile of manuscripts on a narrow table in his office and writing intensely. When the bell rang, he got up and opened the door. Our meeting immediately became intimate and warm. He said, "My daughter loves you very much, and I know you by reputation. I hear through Luders that you have to tell me something about a great spiritual man." The rather direct way of addressing the key point of my visit put me at ease. Within a few seconds, Baba was the topic of conversation. It is very difficult to repeat Einstein's dialectic literally. It was very subtle, sophisticated, and intricate. The first point that seemed to puzzle him more was, how is it possible for a man who is silent to influence others? He said, everything I have achieved with my science, in my philosophy, was through the power of thought expressed by language. What can he touch in other individuals but the mind? Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, Plato, they left words in the mind of man, and these words created thought, and thoughts make man. Has man ever realized the innate God within him? Has he ever experienced the truth through books, words, or schools of thought? Was my quiet answer. He looked somewhat wondrous, but reverent at the age-old statement that God is. He is to be realized. After a few moments of silent concentration, he continued, how do you recognize such a man? Was Jesus a popular figure in his time? Okay. Such a man expresses truth, I replied. These men create facts of a deep reordaining order. Facts are results. The results that these omniscient and omnipotent pure beings created have endured. Truth is its own witness. Einstein's humor suddenly turned the course of thought. With the smile of wise child who knows how to evade dangerous ground, he said, well, tell him for me that if he is able to transmute the consciousness of my cat that has the vulgar instinct to eat birds, I will believe in him. We discoursed for a little while longer when Einstein realized that whatever is created by God love, and that no one is in possession of the pure, omniscient, and omnipresent power unless he is merged in God. He found the subject too much to grasp. He abruptly turned around and apologized for having to finish the last page of his new book. Before leaving the room, however, he added, should we ever have the privilege to be in the same place, in the same town, in some part of the world, do you think Meher Baba would come to see me? I replied, when you wish, he will. Mrs. Elsa Einstein and I remained together, conversing for another hour about things less profound but dear to me. We recalled a period when his daughter Margot, who is Einstein's most dear child, through a stepdaughter, and I were deeply affectionate friends.
Let's read the footnote here.
Okay,
Einstein was the rare scientist who spoke and wrote about God frequently, and he described himself as deeply religious. He had a great admiration for Jesus, Buddha, Mahatma Gandhi, and Rabindranath Tagore, who he met in Germany in 1930. He was known to be indifferent to material things and observed the commonplace goals of human endeavor, material possessions, outward success, and luxury, have always seemed to me despicable. And he once referred to each of his possessions as a stone tied around my neck. Go on.
Do you want someone else to read, or should I continue?
Finish the page.
Okay. When we gave him your message that there is some talk about him there's some talk about him. Yeah, okay.
During September.
Yeah, I didn't see that. Okay. Dear let me go back up. Ganji. Baba was much pleased to hear.
No, you missed. Go up a little for here. Let me go down. Maybe.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. During September. Right. Okay. During September, October, and November of 1932, a considerable amount of correspondence took place between Meher Baba and Mahatma Gandhi, handled through Chanji. Just 2 days after Ramju and Chanji met with Gandhi in prison, Chanji sent this letter to Gandhi, September 23rd, 1932, Nasik. Dear Ganji, Baba was much pleased to hear all about our interview with you, particularly when we gave him your message that there was some talk about him almost every day at your end, your Avada. He said it was quite natural because he always keeps you in his mind as one of his dearest ones. Further referring to you, he added, I love him much. In regard to remarks about the continuation of his silence, he is now carrying it too far. Baba smiled and gestured. I am going to commence speaking in the near future, and I would like him to be near me when I break my silence. Baba smiled and added, Gandhi promised me to help with my works in Guru Arjati.
Gujarati.
And when he feels finished with his political and social services, he will accompany me to America. Jai Baba.
Hey, Baba. Thanks, Marsha. Would anybody else like to read who hasn't read?
Rosalie, would you like to read?
Yeah, I'll read. I want to know what page in the book it is, though.
Sorry, can you read from this? Because we have no idea about the book.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. What page in the book does this coincide with?
I don't know. I'll not be able to answer that at the moment. Can you read from the online version? Your 1483 in any case.
Yes,
from
I can, but it would still like to know.
You can match it later.
Can it be quiet so I can read? Portofino. In any case, Baba would just like you to see him once again as soon as you are free to do so. When we told Baba about your concern on the question of untouchability as a whole, apart from the issue of joint and separate electorates, what is that?
Yes, electorates.
What does that mean?
It's like a Congress, like elected officials.
Okay. He said that sooner or later, untouchability is going to disappear, root and branch. It will have to. I had an interesting and prolonged discussion with His Holiness about the fast he had proposed to you. He has proposed to you. My only hesitation in putting it down, writing, all here is the concern of your health. However, I am going to write it as shortly as possible with a request that you will please go through it as it best suits your convenience. During my 10 years of company with Baba, I have seen him in various different moods and have heard him say many strange things. Yet I could not help but ask Baba the significance of his direct and definite offer to you of Ishwar Darshan, sight of God, in exchange for a fast of 40 days, as though it were a hat or coat for sale in a department store. And the gist of his silent signals in the course of discussion that followed this provoking question, as well as that of the topic of the proposed fast conflicting with your present one, is as follows, quotes, Ishwar Darshan is very difficult. Only a hero can attain it. What's there in a 40-day fast? There is no law that God realization can be attained by fasting. Are there not some among you, speaking to Mandali, who have been fasting for years? It does not solely depend on fast, ritual, or some such other principles, but the desired result can be acquired through the strict observance of certain principles under the instructions from perfect beings who have gained divine experience, God realization, and who can give the same to others. The fact is that among all his political and social movements, Gandhi longs in his heart of heart for divine sight. He is unquestionably most honest and sincere. So when he told me that he wanted to pass a night by my side, and in London, that he wanted me to give him the key, meaning Ishwar Darshan, he meant what he said. He has the past preparation for that. When I sent the message about Ishwar Darshan, I meant it too.
Rosalie, your audio has gotten much lighter, much lower.
Let's see. Whoops. How about now? How is it now?
Pretty much the same as it was.
Really? Okay, I have it.
I'm hearing good. I hear Rosie good.
Pardon?
Real
Okay,
tone.
maybe it's my computer. Then go ahead.
Because how are other people? Can other people hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, Rosalie.
Yeah. Okay. Quotes by Baba. It is my mission to give God realization. So why should I hesitate to speak out on it plainly? Let others think what they like, but Gandhiji understands this. So where is the harm in telling him the truth? Certainly, I never meant that he should break his promise regarding the fast already started. Acceptance of my proposal means the question of the depressed classes is left unsettled. If the present fast is continued up to the 40th day, I expect him to pass that night by my side. But if the present fast is terminated earlier than 40 days, he should start a new fast of 40 days. My message about Ishwar Darshan does not necessarily depend on the present fast at all. It holds good for the future. If and when a fast is possible. But when I say if possible, there is no question of any physical danger to the body, as my proposal carries with it my absolute guarantee against the least physical harm to the body. Gandhiji is quite right when he says that it depends on an inborn impulse to do anything towards the spiritual end. If the divine sight is to be revealed, it might be revealed in an instant. Otherwise, divine revelation is a quite different matter. It does not necessarily depend solely on rituals, ceremonies, or service, devotion, or fast, even for years. Apropos of your remarks during our last interview as to why news of Sri Baba is withheld from the press and public, I beg to explain the real position. In the first place, Sri Baba is averse to publicity. Secondly, during the fortnight, he has been in India. He was so extremely busy with multifarious affairs and their natural consequences that a host of his followers and admirers have been kept waiting for the latest news about him, particularly his doings out in the West. finding the demand for news about him and his doings in England and America growing daily in volume, it has been decided to publish an account of his spiritual crusade in the West, and incidentally, to refer to the contact established between you and Sri Baba, as it is now an open secret. The world is left guessing all the while as to the true significance and importance of your connection with Baba. But we, on our part, scrupulously avoided taking the public into confidence, thinking you may not like it. Now that everything is out and you yourself have expressed surprise as to why the press is silent on the point, a faithful and detailed account of your connection with Sri Baba will be published at the earliest opportunity. However, nothing relating to you can find its way into the press without your approval and correction, for which the written matter will be duly submitted. Yours sincerely, F.H. Dada Chanji. Baba called him Chanji. 2 weeks later, Chanji wrote another letter to Gandhi, October 8th, 1932, in care of Abdullah Harun Jafar, Esquire, Saifi Lane, East Street, Pune. My dear Mahatmaji, I am in receipt of your postcard of the 6th and wrote that you intend to reply in 2 to 3 days to my long letter of the 23rd. Meanwhile, as advised in your postcard referred to above, I approached the home member, but from the conversation I had with him, it appears that the authority for granting an interview rests with the government of India. As I do not wish to go to that length, I have kept back the question of Sri Baba's message, pending further instructions from him. I am enclosing a copy of the publicity matter referred to in the last paragraph of my letter to you of the 23rd for your perusal, correction, and approval before it is submitted for publication in the press. You are at liberty to make any additions or alterations in it as you deem fit. I may add that Sri Baba himself is usually averse to all publicity, but as the demand from the newspapers and the public is pressing, again, it is very necessary to clear all misunderstandings already existing in the minds of the public through distorted reports that have already appeared in papers. Therefore, we have deemed it advisable to publish a short account of Sri Baba's interviews with the societies, press, and public in Europe and America during his tours in the West, as well as an account of your meetings and talks with him on spiritual subjects, which the press consider a matter of special significance and importance. But for the unavoidable circumstances, as you can well realize, I would never have given you this trouble, for which you will kindly excuse. Requesting the favor of your kindly returning the papers at your earliest convenience with best wishes, I am yours very sincerely, F.H. Dadachanji. P.S. I am leaving Pune tomorrow, so you will please address all correspondence care of Sarosh Motor Works Limited, Nasik. I can see why he's Meher Baba's secretary. That's exquisitely put, that letter. Wow.
Thank you, Rosalie. Okay, maybe we have time for another page. Would Ralph like to read maybe? Or he doesn't seem to be by the phone there. Mona, why don't you read a page? Oh, wait, I think Ralph just got on.
Yeah, Ralph, are you reading? Thank you.
I could read a spot, yes. Oh, thereafter, Portofino. Thereafter, Chanji received the following reply from Gandhi, written in Gujarati from Yuravda Central Prison.
It's Yerwada.
October 10. Huh?
It's Yerwada. Central Prison. It's okay. Yerwada.
Once again, please.
Let him go ahead. Go ahead, Ralph.
Okay.
Just read the letter. Just read the letter.
Brother Dada Chanji. This is in reply to your letter of the 23rd. I wish to clarify my position in regard to Baba. I find it very difficult to believe that one person can help another to see God. My heart refuses to accept this idea. However, when Baba makes a change, I can only tell him that I would become his help if he could make me see God. We need not believe that a person has necessarily seen God just because he says that he has seen him. Many persons who make such a claim are found to be suffering from a delusion. In many cases, the claim is merely an echo of one's own wishes. I certainly do not believe that seeing God means seeing some power outside of us. For I believe that he, God, dwells in the hearts of us all. Only one in thousands know him through the heart. It is not enough to know God with one's intellect. I do feel that no person can help another to see God in this sense. One cannot fast at the instance of someone else in order to be able to see God. I would do so only when I feel an urge from within me. And when there is such an urge, I will not allow myself to be dissuaded from that step by anybody. There is absolutely no reason for assuming that fasting would help me to see God. I cannot believe that if I agree to fast for 40 days, Baba can help me to see God. That would be an easy bargain. If one can see God as easily as that, the experience has no value to me. I'm going to ask the next person to read, please.
Thank you, Ralph.
I said, thank you. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. I thought that Baba did not divide life into separate fields. To a person whose life is dedicated to dharma, politics, economics, etc., all are aspects of dharma, and he cannot leave out any of them. According to me, a person who regards dharma as one of the many activities of life does not know what dharma is. It is therefore, just a moment, I need to. Eva, can you just mute everybody who's unmuted? Thank you. Uh, According to me, a person who regards dharma as one of the many activities of life does not know what dharma is. It is therefore inconceivable to me that someday I might give up politics, social reform, and other similar activities. I have entered the fields of politics, social service, etc., for the sake of dharma. I did not promise to translate Baba's writings into Gujarati. On the contrary, I suggested to Baba that he should come out from under the spell of English and not write, or find somebody to write for him in English and write and explain his ideas in Gujarati, his mother tongue, or in Persian, which, as he says, he knows very well. Yes, I would certainly translate into Gujarati any of his writings which deeply appeal to me. In short, I am a student of Baba's ideas. I saw Baba after having received a wire from Jamshed Mehta, who I regard as a pure soul. I am always in search of bhaktas, lovers of God, and thinking that Baba was one. I met him. Vande Mataram, salutations to the motherland. Mohandas Gandhi. A week
Okay,
later,
Mona, I think we should hold it right here. It's
shall
almost
I
12
just finish
noon.
the page? Is that okay, Marvin?
All
I'll just
right.
finish.
Okay.
Yeah. Uh, a week later, Janji received another letter from Gandhi, 18th October 1932, Yerawada Mandir Temple, Brother Dada Janji. Received your letter, also your telegram. Fortunately, Brother Mahadev Desai has preserved a copy of my reply to your letter of the 23rd September. Therefore, I am able to send herewith the copy of my reply to you. As you agree with me in not giving a long report to the press, I have nothing further to write to you on this account and have now nothing to point out to you by the way of misinterpretation of facts as felt by me in the detailed report you have sent for my perusal and approval. But some day when we meet, I shall try to explain to you what I felt and meant as misinterpretation in the facts mentioned in the detailed report prepared by you of the Meher Baba and Gandhi meetings. Please do not misconstrue what I say. I do not say that I blame anyone for such misinterpretation, but what I do mean is that there has been a definite misunderstanding. It is by it is but very natural, and I have experienced many a time that misunderstandings do crop up when one undertakes to reproduce from memory conversations having taken place between two persons. Do acknowledge the receipt of this letter. Vande Mataram, Mohandas Gandhi. A third letter from Gandhi was received the following day, 19th October 1932. Brother Dada Chandji, I got your letter of the 8th and the accompanying pages. I have gone through the letter. I I don't think that it should be published. It leaves out a great deal, and what it includes is put in such a form which can be easily misunderstood. With this, we will end the meeting here on page number.
Starting at
We ended on.
1488. We'll start at 1488 next time.
Okay. 1487.
88.
Yeah. So thank you, everybody. Marvin, you want to stop recording, and whoever likes to chat for a bit can stay on. And we'll see everybody next week at the same time, 9 p.m. India Standard Time, for the another reading of